mynews.studio.
A single declaration in Brazil has just redrawn the map of the Amazon. Could this change the course of the global climate fight?
Today's date is July 15th, 2025. Let's get right to it. Brazil now officially recognizes the Munduruku tribe's ancestral claim to over 178,000 hectares of the Amazon rainforest. The government has formally demarcated the Sare Maibu territory. So, what does this actually mean on the ground?
This is a significant step. For the Munduruku, it means their land is now legally protected from mining, logging, and major infrastructure projects. Sare Maibu isn't just home to their community. It's also a habitat for countless plant and animal species. Plus, it acts as a major carbon sink. But the timing is interesting. Why did this happen now, after so many years of advocacy?
The roots stretch back decades, but the real momentum started in 2007. The Munduruku didn't just wait for government action. They took matters into their own hands, marking their own boundaries and removing invaders. That move set a new standard for indigenous autonomy in Brazil. Still, this formal recognition from the government is recent. The Minister of Justice signed it in September 2024. But why does the timing matter so much?
It's really about escalating threats. Illegal mining and logging, plus large projects like the São Luís de Tapajós Dam, have all targeted this region. That dam, just as an example, would have flooded lands sacred to the Munduruku. Now, with the demarcation decree, the government is required to enforce boundaries, remove illegal occupants, and protect the area. But enforcement in the Amazon, is it ever straightforward?
Not exactly. The Amazon is enormous. Historically, enforcement has been slow, sometimes incomplete. Illegal mining and logging still go on in very remote areas. Even with this decree, the government needs to physically mark the territory, remove invaders, and then the president has to ratify it. So, this legal win isn't the end of the story. What kinds of risks are coming up next?
There are several. First, enforcement and security. The Munduruku rely on the government to defend these boundaries and prevent violence. This process can be delayed or even resisted, especially by influential mining and agribusiness interests. Second, there's the new law, Law 1471-23, which brings in the Marco Temporal Thesis. That restricts indigenous land claims to areas they occupied in 1988, and it lets infrastructure projects move forward on indigenous land without community consent. How does that change things?
It makes things legally uncertain. Even after recognition, the Munduruku face both political and economic pressures. The law allows for financial compensation to non-indigenous people who are removed, and it speeds up approval for projects that could affect these lands. So there's a real risk that this territory could be chipped away, little by little. Does this mean the Munduruku have to keep fighting, even after this official win?
Yes, absolutely. They have to stay vigilant, organizing protests, filing legal challenges, keeping their issues in public view. But there's also a bigger picture. Research shows indigenous territories are some of the most effective barriers against deforestation. Protecting Sare Maibu isn't just about one tribe. It's a key piece of the puzzle for fighting climate change. Why is this so important globally?
The Amazon is one of the world's largest carbon sinks. What happens here affects the planet's climate as a whole. When indigenous groups like the Munduruku are recognized as stewards, it helps preserve biodiversity and stabilizes the climate. Their leadership in conservation is now seen as essential. But is there anything people outside Brazil can actually do to support this?
There are concrete ways to help: international funding and technical support for indigenous groups, diplomatic pressure on Brazil to keep its promises, and responsible trade policies that avoid products linked to deforestation. NGOs and multilateral organizations can help monitor and enforce land rights. If the world wants to protect the Amazon, supporting indigenous autonomy is essential.
That echoes what Alessandra Carap Munduruku has said. Their territory is all life: the river, the forest, the children, the animals, and the seeds. Isn't it telling that those most connected to the land end up being its most effective guardians?
It really is. The Munduruku's success is a milestone, but the real challenge is whether enforcement holds and whether global attention stays focused. Will this recognition inspire similar victories elsewhere? And can it last?
That's the big question. This isn't just about one tribe. It's about the future of indigenous rights, the Amazon, and in a way, the global climate.
Thanks for listening. Today we unpacked the Munduruku's historic land win, the legal and political hurdles ahead, and why indigenous stewardship matters for everyone.
Stay curious, stay informed. Thank you for joining us. This episode was produced by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.